Hey Streakers, so Sol here, and coming to you today with just a bit of kind of unscripted content for a bit of fun. I have in recent times seen a lot of content creators doing these videos where they're looking at things that were near and dear to them at some point in their life. You know, movies and magazines and things like that. This is an issue of Computer and Videogames Magazine, which back in the day typically was called CVG or CVG. Yeah, people had different names, but yeah, this was the Christmas issue from January 1997. So you had Britain's best-selling games mag. This was always written on the cover. I'm pretty sure it was. CVG was a relatively low-cost multi-format mag. I mean, you can see here it's £2.50. I mean, that's kind of, well, that's a real thing here in 2025. But yeah, £2.50. It was relatively low cost and covered all platforms, which was great. I was a big fan of CVG at the time. So we're going to go through this magazine. There's a lot of cool stuff here. This was partially inspired by people who watch me on streaming. I've been streaming Christmas nights. I streamed it last week. I'll be doing it again next week. So we're not going to go through everything. I think what we'll do is we'll breeze through and we'll stop at some of the interesting bits and the stuff that stands out now. The platforms at the top are interesting to begin with because we have Nintendo, Sega, Sony. That'll also make sense. PC CD-ROM, which was what people just called PC gaming back then. Arcade, fine. Retro, fine. M2, this is the bit that's interesting. So I don't know, maybe in the magazine it will tell us a little bit more about the M2. But the M2 was a console that never came out. It was never released. It was developed by Matsushita, who I believe, someone's going to correct me here, but I believe Matsushita are the parent company of Philips Electronics, or at least they were back then. And they wanted to release this console called the M2, and it was going to change everything. Needless to say, in 2025, it never came out, and it didn't. It did get released. It's weird, like it was in karaoke machines or something. It's a strange one, but this isn't a video about the M2, so let's move on. But that's why that's there. So their cover game obviously is Christmas Nights Into Dreams. And of course it was, because what else would you put on the cover of a Christmas video games magazine in 1997? I mean, Christmas Nights was pretty dominant in gaming news at the time for Christmas, because, I mean, Christmas Nights is like the de facto Christmas game, right? It's interesting because it isn't really a genre of games. You don't get many of them, but this was good. So, and then also on the cover of this, there was a whole kind of mini book that they supplied that was like the complete history of computer and video games. Now, I'm not going to go through this now. I have this book, but I'm not going to go through it right this moment because that would be a whole video of itself. If people want me to do that, then yeah, post in the comments. You know, let me know. Let me know on Blue Sky. Post in the comments on here on YouTube, and I might do that at some point in the future. But anyway, let's move on from the cover. All the top games you should own this Christmas, plus more besides. Fantastic. Right, okay, so here's the first thing that's interesting. Video game advertising. I mean, people have done whole videos about this, right? But video game advertising was weird in the 90s. Really, really weird. Like, why is this thing with like a devil and like a... Oh, okay, it's like a tiki mask and like a turd on the floor. And now, this I'm pretty sure is for Crash Bandicoot, right? Petitioning against Dominic Wheaton. Let's see. So, yeah. All of this, and then at the end it's Crash Bandicoot related. Yeah, Mr. Whedon also refuses to remove the skunks, turtles, bandicoots, which continue to escape from his garden of foul footprint. Okay, so video game advertising was strange in the 90s because they couldn't just show pictures of the video game. Oh no, that wouldn't be good enough. They had to do some weird thing that would kind of try and stick in the memory. And there are whole, as I said, there are whole videos on YouTube, I'm sure you can find them, where people have gone through these things and picked out some of the best ones. They are bizarre, really, and we'll probably see some more before we're done here. Okay, contents. So I'm going to skip over this. Oh, virtual on. Nice. Okay, this is a great game. Let's talk about that. But I'm going to skip over this stuff because we're going to talk about these things as we go through. But yeah, editorial. So we'll begin. Phil Dawson was leaving the magazine. Okay, that was a thing. We had these, the list of contributors here: Paul Davies, Tom Guys, Jamie Smith, Mike Newson, Ed Lomas, and Alex Hutala. These people were really big in UK video game mag journalism at the time. They might have come from journalism and other things as well, I don't know. But key one here is Richard Ledbetter, who I believe is still working for Digital Foundry today. So he's the guy you see in Digital Foundry, kind of fronting up their news. There are, it's mainly 3 people, isn't it, Digital Foundry is run by these days, but yeah, Richard Ledbetter is key member of that team. And it's great to see that he's still doing his thing in video game journalism. Let's move down. So we have Paul Davies, Tom Guys, Alex Hutala, Ed Lomas, James Smith, Mike Newson, and also the CVG rating system. So this explains kind of what the reviews meant as well. CVG had moved to a out of 5 rating system at this point. They'd done a few things over the years. I remember at one point they had a percentage system based on category. They tried a few different things, but they settled on this out of 5 system. And if memory serves, they stuck with this for a number of years. This was quite popular, so yeah, this was a good thing. And yeah, we'll move on. Dizzard, a French expression for people who toss gum on the street. So this was another thing for video games magazines at the time. They had to try and have, what would you call it? I guess like wholesome content. So they used to have these kind of government information adverts, like, you know, don't drop litter, don't do drugs, things like that. And that was a thing. They always had these. And sometimes these were weird, just as weird as the adverts, by the way. That was kind of a strange thing, but yeah. Right, news. Okay, this is gonna be fun. Right, Famicom Space World 1996. Right, so Space World is a kind of forgotten thing these days. But yeah. So Space World was a trade show, an expo. That's the best way of putting it. Now, Japan has for the longest time had the Tokyo Game Show, which still runs today. I think TGS ran all the way back then, but for reasons that I don't think are widely known. Nintendo never used to patronize TGS, and I think maybe they still don't. They used to run their own show called Space World, which was about a month later. So as you see, this was the 22nd to 25th of November, Makuhari Messe in Japan. Makuhari Messe is a large expo space in Chiba in Tokyo. And, well, Chiba, outside of Tokyo, but yes, on the Chiba Peninsula. I've been there actually, it's really cool. Chiba's a really nice place, I really liked it there. But I went in, when did I go to TGS? I think 2006. But yeah, so Nintendo at the time obviously was showing off this, which is the 64DD. Now this was a disk drive that clamped onto the bottom of the Nintendo 64 and could allow you to play games off disk. Now this never actually got released in the Western world. It did come out in Japan with a limited number of games and experiences that were available for it, but it never came out of the UK, it never came to the US, at least not as far as I know. But yeah, so it had these kind of cool looking discs and there was different software for it. the main thing was, I believe the discs were writable, so they talked about that, like F-Zero would have a, like a track editor and stuff like that, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, they never came out. Now, so this is, again, this is Christmas '97, so, you know, this was very exciting times for the N64, and the N64 was really just starting to gather steam. So we had like the Jolt pack, the Rumble pack, that added force feedback, so this was the first time that we had this in console gaming. That was exciting, and that came as a pack-in with Star Fox. Star Fox 64, which in the UK was renamed Lilith Wars. I believe that was because of some kind of legal dispute. Blastozer, which by the time it came to the West was Blast Core by Rare. Fantastic game, where you had to use destruction vehicles to clear a path for a nuclear bomb. You see, it says here. Great game, really, really good. Here's another one of these. Wazak. Expression made famous. It's a New Zealand expression for people who toss gum on the street. But what I would say is, when I hear the word Wazak, I think of Craig Charles, you know, who played Lister in Red Dwarf. He often used to say Wazak and things. It was a word that he liked a lot. Okay, so let's see. News. Go-Go Troublemakers. So this was Mischief Makers by Treasure for the N64. This was a great game. I remember this being really fun. Kirby's Air Ride. Oh wow, yeah, that's really significant now, right? So this was around the time that they were just kind of just like putting out the feelers, like the first screenshots for Kirby's Air Ride. And this was fun. I remember when this eventually came out. It was a good game, but in the context of the recent one for the Switch 2, it's interesting seeing that all the way back then. Wow, I'd forgotten about that. On the other hand, Dual Heroes by Hudson Soft. I mean, okay, some of these things you look back like Kirby and you think, oh wow, that was great. Some of these things you look back and you're like, oh yeah, that was terrible. Dual Heroes was not a good game. In fact, it was pretty bad. It was one of the... I mean... the N64 and 64 developers, right, have this advantage because Superman 64 exists, so none of them have to worry about being the worst game on the N64, but Dual Heroes is going to be pretty down there. Yoshi's Island, great game, Revelant. Oh, I don't think that ever came out. But anyway, that's another one of these ones about tossing gum on the street. Wow, they were really all in about that. Supercars. Okay, yeah, this was a Model 3 arcade racing game by Sega. So, Supercars is kind of like... okay, there was a Daytona 2, but in a sense, Supercars was like the next game that kind of followed in that franchise. And it's one of these kind of... lost games. And the reason for that is it came off of the Model 3 arcade board, which means it didn't get a Sega Saturn release because that was far too powerful. And by the time the Dreamcast came out, it was quite old, so it never really got a home release. So it's in the final game, it was called Supercar Scud Race. It was a good game. It was a good game, but arcade only. You can play it emulated down. Some of the tracks I think showed up in some of the versions of Outrun 2, but yeah. PlayStation analog pad. Oh, this was new, so the PlayStation, when it launched, didn't have an analog stick. Analog sticks on the pad. They were just the digital buttons. So Sony added this later. That was great. So these came along. But then, interestingly, these weren't the dual shock pads that had their force feedback as well. They were just analog. The dual shock pads didn't come along until quite a long time later. Last Bronx, great. Tekken 3. Tekken 3 was obviously just kind of announced. White Sega Saturn. The Flash Sega Saturn. Gorgeous. Really nice in person. Okay, here's another one of these things. So, this is education authority thing about LSD. So, this is all about, you know, taking LSD can make you panic and even lead to a permanent change of personality. So, all these things about drug use. There was always these National Drugs Helpline things. I think maybe they were trying to target gamers because I don't know, maybe they thought people who played video games were more susceptible to wanting to try psychoactive substances. I mean, maybe they were right. Actually, from some of the people I've known over the years, maybe they were right, but there were always lots of these things. Okay, let's speed through here. We've got the mailbag. This is where they would go through letters from people. Let's have a look. Let's pick one. Right. I'm gonna be careful because some of the language for the letters was let's say a bit off color. And yeah, let's go with this one. So, speaketh thee not my language. Dear CVG, I love RPGs. Since those halcyon days when I first played classics such as Phantasy Star 2 and Sword of Vermilion, the Shining Force in the East on the NEC Turbo Duo, and now on to Shining Wisdom. I bought my Saturn for RPGs, simple as that. And now what greets my eyes? Shining Wisdom, a poor Zelda derivative at best, providing limited enjoyment with its bland visuals and laughable secrets. The best bit is turning into a giant monkey using a hidden orb. Mysteria, good fun, but way too easy and far too shallow. Or possibly Story of Thor 2, a ghastly combination of adventure, RPG, and hack-em-up styles. 180 on Dark Savior, Shining in the Holy Ark, Grandia, etc. Which brings me to my two questions. Firstly, anyone use on possible release dates? Secondly, in your free play section, you recommend Dark Savior in your Japanese import top 5. Does this mean the Japanese version has English text? Or do you mean an American import? Because it hardly seems a good idea to buy an RPG in a different language. Whatever the case, please could you enlighten me as to Japanese, US, UK compatibility, either UK Saturn, which games will work with my machine. Thanks for your help. Chris IR, Bath. CVG. When will the UK get used to the idea that RPGs and their many guises account for some of the coolest gaming experiences ever? The reason we recommend Dark Savior, Chris, is that it requires very little knowledge of Japanese to play through, as it is very much action-oriented. But yes, all the presentation is in Japanese. As for compatibility between machines, unless you get some kind of adapter or have special switch fitted, your Saturn will only run games intended for its country of origin. So, this is actually quite telling. The JRPG sector in the UK was very barren back in these days. Very few of them got released here. They just didn't release them, and it's kind of a shame. The first we did get some of the earlier Final Fantasy games like Mystic West, but that's why Final Fantasy VII was such a big deal in the UK, because it came out with a real splash, and it was like something people had never played before. That's kind of cool. But this is kind of emblematic of that problem. So yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's keep moving now. You'll get a kick, a slap, a boot, a crash out of these games of Woolworths, Die Hard Arcade, and Final Doom. $44.99. Okay, hang on 1 second. Let me just do this. Yeah, I'll accept your cookies. Right, £45. Well, let's do this properly. $44.99. In 1997. Calculate. Wow, okay. So, those individual PlayStation games were £89, so £90 effectively. That's kind of amazing. So yeah, like £90 for Final Doom or Die Hard Trilogy. I mean it's not worth it. But you see, this kind of puts in a perspective when I talk about some of my other videos or on stream about the Saturn, about the number of games that the average person had. You know, they were expensive at the time. Also, Woolworths. So Woolworths doesn't exist anymore. They went bankrupt in I want to say 2009. But yeah, bless from the past. Daytona USA, CCE, not as good. Sega World Soccer was good though. And you see, even in 1997, they were still advertising Mega Drive games. These are Sega Genesis games, by the way, for Americans. It was called the Sega Mega Drive here. Christmas Buyer's Guide. Oh, this is going to be good. All right, what did they recommend for Christmas? Let's have a look. What did they recommend? Right, the Super Mario series, Sonic the Hedgehog series, Legend of Zelda, Gunstar Heroes. That's kind of cool, right? Because these three things, you know, these might still show up in the list today. Gunstar Heroes, though, wow, okay, that's a blast from the past. I don't know if Treasure is still around. What was the last thing they did? Was it a remake or a re-release? But Gunstar Heroes, for reference, is a run-and-gun action platformer. It is considered by some to be the single best game for the Mega Drive. Like bar none, it's considered to just be the best game. Personally, I was always partial to Alien Soldier, which was always by Treasure, also by them, but yeah. Okay, PC CD-ROM, what do we got? Quake, I mean, yeah, obviously, Quake was amazing. Quake came out this year. 1997 for video games, by the way, was a hell of a year. Really good year. So we had Quake, Duke Nukem 3D, also awesome. Command & Conquer. Command & Conquer is important because it heralded the I guess you'd call it the re-rise of real-time strategy games. So that was a big deal. Syndicate Wars, great, really good top-down 3D strategy game, squad-based game from Bullfrog, really good. I actually had this Syndicate Wars. This was great, and Formula 1 GP too. So this was a simulation of Formula 1 by the legendary Jeff Crammond. Great game, really fun. All right, Sega Saturn. This is where things get good. Very much near and dear to me at the time, so let's see what we got here. Alright, we got Virtual Fighter 2, good choice, good choice. VF2, fantastic game. Yeah, 60 FPS, highest resolution, really, really good looking game for the time. Knights, I mean, well, who's going to argue? Great game. Street Fighter Alpha 2, yeah, definitely. Sega Rally, again, fantastic, no arguments. Worldwide Soccer, amazing, really, really fun. I guess soccer games are weird because they don't age well. But Sega Worldwide Soccer was really good. I love this game. And then we had, you know, there was a Saturn version of Quake that came out, Max TT. The Saturn version of Quake is fantastic. If we ever get to a magazine that kind of has that in, there's a lot I have to talk about with that one, because it has a very weird development history, but still. Alright, PS1, what we got? We're going to be a Wipeout kind of pre-render here. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Wipeout 2097, Resident Evil, Formula 1, Tekken 2, Tomb Raider. No, all pretty straightforward. These were all great games. Come back in the future though. Rage Racer, yeah. Soul Edge, brilliant. Final Fantasy 7, and Time Crisis. This might have been one of the first images of Final Fantasy 7 in a UK mag as well. Like, it was it's pretty far off at this point, so yeah. And then N64, so of course the N64 was still not released at this time. It didn't come out until so due to be released in the UK around June 97. I think it actually came out in March, but yeah. The thing that was funny actually is I remember this magazine did this article. It was probably in the previous month, because they were talking about the Japanese release of the N64. And you could get one in the UK, you could buy them, but you had to buy one from an importer, and they were always really marked up, they were really expensive. So somebody had calculated that at the time, to get a Nintendo 64 with 2 controllers and Mario 64, Pilot Wings, and Wave Race, you had to spend over £1,000. That was how much it was expensive. So what they did in the magazine, and this was really cool, they provided a what's the word? An itinerary, that's the word. They provided an itinerary for you could go to Tokyo on a plane, stay there for a week, buy a Nintendo 64 with all of those things, and then come back to the UK and that would cost you around about £1,000. So I was just saying, if you wanted to get an N64 and you were going to spend £1,000 on it, maybe just consider doing that instead. That was a real investment as well, right? Because like £1,000 would just from the inflation calculator was a lot of money. Oh, here we go. We have a cool advert again. It'll blow you away. Micro Machines Military. Oh my word. Come on. What is this? Oh my word. Okay. Let's just be honest about this. The Micro Machines top-down racing, and I mean, okay, military had more combat in it, but they were the cutest, most bright-colored games ever. This is like a picture of Yoshi the dinosaur with like Yoshi, you know, Yoshi from Mario, you know, with an AK-47. Like the idea of, or like giving Kirby a Beretta. The idea of this is bizarre. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. You see what I mean? Alright, okay. PlayStation Expo. So what do we have here? So again, this was a show that Sony were putting on at the time. But this is the thing, right? Because today, with E3 closing down, the industry is struggling to keep even these big events open, but back then, major platform holders used to hold their own. That's how popular they were. Got Parappa the Rapper, awesome game. Rhythm Action. Yeah, definitely get a chance to play that if you can. Depth. Oh, interesting. I think in the end, when it was released in the West, I think this was called Fluid. I don't think it was called Depth. I think they changed the name. Callum's Gate. I don't remember that. Rurouni Kenshin, let's forget about that. Namco. Soul Edge, right? So, Soul Edge, everyone was excited for this at the time. It had a lot of things that fighting games had not done before. The backgrounds in it with 3D, for example, which was a big deal for home console fighting games. Soul Edge, when released in the UK, was renamed. It was called Soul Blade. And this is an important distinction because one of the characters, you see, actually this is the guy here. So this is Li Long, who is, he is a character in Soul Edge and Soul Blade, the first game in that series. He was not in Caliber or the subsequent ones. He was kind of replaced by Maxi. But this was significant at the time because in the UK, you couldn't have movies and things that depicted characters with nunchucks, you know. I don't know exactly why. I know there was some kind of legal thing, like censorship thing. I don't know, but in video games, Li Long was changed to having a 3-sectional staff in Soul Blade from the original nunchucks in Soul Edge. And yeah, it was weird. I hadn't thought about this in a long time. I used to like Li Long as well. He was a good character in the game. But even the Bruce Lee nunchuck scene in Enter the Dragon was cut out in the UK VHS version. It's kind of strange. But yeah. But yeah, I don't know why that was. I'm sure there was a torturous kind of censorship reason. Red Racer. Yeah, this was good. I remember. Time Crisis. So this was fun. The Time Crisis thing was great, and you know, you kind of the game itself, you know, where you kind of duck behind cover to reload and then get popped up to shoot enemies. There was a whole series of these, and this was the first one, and it was kind of, let's say, a definite challenger to the Virtua Cop crown. So Virtua Cop was considered the definitive arcade light gun game at this time. So this was cool. But fun thing about Time Crisis was that the arcade version had a foot pedal, but the home version, the light gun, didn't come with a foot pedal. But what you could do is you could put a second controller on the ground, and you could you can use the buttons with your foot to use it like a foot pedal. And the way a lot of us did this, that was kind of the done thing at the time, was you used to go to, you know, like your indie game store and you try and get a controller off them, like a, you know, a really awful third party like Mad Catz controller that was maybe a bit broken, and then you could use that to put, you know, as your foot pedal. That was a pretty popular thing at the time. There's another one. Brings out the yob in you. Street Racer. Okay, look, so this is the thing, right? Look at this. Look at this. So let's go. Can we go? Yeah, we can. Okay, great. So we'll get this full screen. There is not a single image of this game in this advert. Look at this. What kind of game is this? I mean, it's a good job it's called Street Racer, because at least then you can guess that it's about street racing. Street Racer, for the record, was a kind of Mario Kart style game. And actually they were good. I remember they were pretty good games, but you know, the Saturn version, in fact, I remember it was like 10 player or something crazy like that, like 8 player, I think, 8 player split screen. But come on, I mean, I don't know. And just to be clear as well, I want to say this because it would be really easy for people to get the wrong impression, because you might look at this and think, oh wow, people were weird back then. Those of us reading these magazines in the 90s, we didn't understand this either. We just wanted pictures of the games, man. Like, just show me the games. But whatever. Okay, CV's 3D, Namco Museum. Namco did a whole series of these games for the PlayStation where they had like classic Namco games. So they were fun. Alright, Biohazard 2. Well, this obviously became Resident Evil 2. What's this? Oh, wow, okay. So, this is, so a lot of people don't know this, or maybe now, I guess, well, okay, well, maybe you don't know this, fine, but Capcom actually started work on the second Resident Evil game, and they got quite far into it before they stopped, went back to the start, and started again. And as a result, fans have, they often refer to the abandoned Resident Evil 2 prototype as Resident Evil 1.5, and I believe these are from that. So you can see they all look a bit like the final Resident Evil 2 that we got, but not quite the same. See, Speed King, Toshinden 3. I remember all these. From Software, talking about the Kingsfield series. Armored Core, yeah. 10% complete Armored Core. That gives you an idea of when this was. Square. Okay, first one, Final Fantasy 7. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna skip on a little bit because we have another advert. Excite. Oh yeah, this was like a 2D shooting game. It was weird. The iconography was always really strange. I'm gonna move on a bit quicker though, because I'm mindful of that. We're only about a third of the way there, and it's been going for a while. So let's see. Get Mario Kart 64. Yeah, people were really excited. The first Mario Kart was amazing, and today, looking back at Mario Kart, it's kind of strange because you have so many of them. But you have to remember that at this time, there was only one, and then this was the second one. So very exciting. That's for shops. Who's this for? HMV, right, okay. Yeah, so at this time HMV were just getting into selling video games. It was quite new for them. So yeah, Monty Python, The Holy Grail, PC Studio. Wow, I've never heard of this. All the rest of these I'm familiar with. Terminator Skynet, this was a great game. Like this was really good. Largely forgotten about as well, actually. There were two of these. There was Terminator Future Shock, and then this was the sequel. Both very good. Oh, that's adorable. His master's voice. Okay, Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. I remember this one. People were saying about how they had motion captured Gretzky's skating style in the game. That was a really big deal. You know, motion capture was a hot button technology. Yeah, hockey games are always a big thing, right? Even now, you still get the NHL series. What is this? You see, again, what is this? What even is this? Now, I can tell you, from memory and because of this is an ad for Tekken 2. But I mean, what? You know. Anyway. KMDK. Yeah, often this was a third-person action game, a Shiny Entertainment. They did two. There was one for the machines around this time, and then there was one around the time that the Dreamcast came out. And often misreported. People would think the MDK stood for Murder, Death, Kill. However, if I remember rightly, that's a mistake. That comes from the movie Demolition Man. If I remember rightly, it's actually Mission Deliver Kindness. Because it was by Shiny Entertainment and they did weird stuff. It was a good game though, I remember it was fun. Oh, Enemy Zero. Okay, right, this thing. This is absolutely terrifying. So Enemy Zero is a survival horror game where the enemies are invisible and you have to try and use sound to hunt them down and defend yourselves from them. And it's like Alien, so it's set on like a ship with these invisible aliens, and it's kind of like Dead Space, except all of the enemies are invisible, and it's incredibly hard, and when you die you go all the way back to the start. It is a terrifying game. Really, really good though. And again, this is one that like gaming culture kind of has forgotten. Like there's very little cultural footprint for this one, but it's very good. Yeah, this was cool. Tempest 2000 by the legendary Jeff Minter. Awesome game. And remains probably the only really, really good game for the Atari Jaguar. Talking to Turkey for Christmas. Okay. Yeah, this was about the official Nintendo magazine that was rebranding to be the official Nintendo 64 magazine. MPA in the Zone. Oh, I remember this one too. The big deal with this one was that you could see the reflections of the lights in the court. That was a big deal. It was fun. Okay, there will be no Fourth World War. Yeah, you see again, Command and Conquer. I mean, I suppose these are... Oh, there's a picture of the game. There's one tiny little one tucked in the corner of the frame there. I mean... And then this picture of what is obviously a real war zone. Oh, God, that's so vile. But yeah, I mean, here we go. There are some screenshots of the game, at least. Elspa. So this was, you see here, this little icon. So back around this time, video games in the European Union used a voluntary rating system that was called Elspa. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, it was the European Leisure Software Publishers Association, and was later superseded by PEGI, who rate the games now. I have a similar system to the ESRB in the US, but yeah, this was quite a new thing. Okay, Mortal Kombat Trilogy. What do we got here? Okay, this is gonna be a good one. Meanwhile, down at Shockbusters, this will do the trick. Revenge of the Chicken Blood Vampire. No, Amsterdam, sensible views again. Watch that. Lunch house. Whatever. What? I guess they thought this was funny. Right, okay, so subscriptions. Yeah, see? It's interesting because, even today with Patreon, subscriptions are the way they made the real money back then. We said people would just, buy a subscription. A lot of people would buy, it was a popular gift actually. You could buy a subscription for a friend to a magazine, or like to a child. If you know, you would buy your son like a year of CVG or something. It was a pretty popular gift actually. Sometimes people would sign people up for magazines that like that they would hate or something as well. Like it was kind of like a weird joke. Okay, we have back issues. Oh, right, okay. So this one, Dave the Exploding Fist. I remember this one. I think if I do more of these, I might do that one next, because I remember having this magazine. I mean, I remember having all of these, to be honest. Like this one with a big Quake logo, and it was the... I mean, I remember all of them so well, but this one means a lot to me, actually, thinking about it. But okay, let's keep going. What was this? It was like a weird kind of cartoon. Oh wow, okay. So we got Ripley with a copy of CVG. Huh. Alright, so we had... these would be like news, kind of. It was like an update, but this was more about things that were... rather than titles that were coming out in the future, this was stuff that was coming out right now. Virtual On, yeah, we'll get on to that in a bit. Competitions, oh, let's have a look, what are the competitions? Well, okay, wait. One thing at a time. Release dates, first of all, let's have a look. So we have Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 by Acclaim on the Saturn and PlayStation. This is legendarily terrible. I don't know what the deal was exactly, but I know that these were really, really, really bad. The Sega Saturn version in particular of Mortal Kombat 2 is like famous as like one of the best one of the worst video games ever made. We had Panzer Dragoon. Oh, on PC CD-ROM, I was about to say, that was previous year. Lands of Law 2, that was a good game. Anyway, Sega Rally, Dungeon Keeper. Okay, yeah. So this was a thing. Dungeon Keeper, will it ever see the light? Dungeon Keeper was infamous because it kept getting delayed over and over again. Bullfrog were banned for this, actually. I remember they would announce their games just too early, and then, you know, it took them ages to come out. It was weird. So this is Command & Conquer for the Saturn and PlayStation. So it's easy to forget sometimes that they did console versions of C&C. Magazines would have these like things about individual units and stuff. That was fun. But yeah, 5 out of 5, because of course. And yeah, I see down here we got we have a comparison of the two versions, because you had to do this back then. Sometimes you would have two versions of a game, and one would be great, one would be terrible, and you couldn't always predict what it was either. Like that Mortal Kombat 2 thing I mentioned before was a great example, because like there is absolutely no reason for a Sega Saturn version of Mortal Kombat 2 to be worse than the Mega Drive version, because it's a vastly superior machine, but it was terrible. See, if I almost had to do this back in the day. But yeah, 5 out of 5 for Command & Conquer. Well, no surprise there. That was the Haunting for PC CD-ROM. Wow, even I've forgotten this one. It's like a first-person adventure game. 5 out of 5. Wow, okay. Who is this mysterious beauty? Mysterious beauty appears in Adam's Fevered Dreams. See, again, this is a reference to the writers kind of poking fun at each other. Is it just me, or does she look a bit like ScarJo? That can't be ScarJo, though. I mean, this was 1997, so... oh, whatever. remember this one. People were really excited for this one. Like 3 games in one. Right, Cool Borders. Right, okay. So, yeah, I remember this one. So Cool Borders was a, like it was a whole franchise. So, okay, there was a brief period in, around this time where there was kind of like a fascination with winter sports games. So you had like Alpine Racer and Alpine Surfer by Namco, and Sega made Steep Slope Sliders, and there was this one, Cool Borders, and there was a whole series of these. 1080 snowboarding on the N64 was a big one, and there were loads, absolutely loads of them. There was a PlayStation game called Chill. There was a there was Snowboard Kids on the N64, which was like a snowboarding Mario Kart game. There were loads. It was kind of interesting, really kind of hit things, but this admittedly was one of the better ones, and Cool Borders, they were good games. 3 out of 5. Maybe I'm thinking of the second one. I had the second one, and then I had the third one as well, but then I know that the third one was by a different studio. Amok. Okay, this was like a mech thing. Oh, this one, I remember this one because this one, all of its visuals were done using voxels, which was really unique, actually. It was probably the, yeah, here we go, yeah, Voxel Cavalier. Probably the only game on the Saturn that did this. That was fun, though. Crusader No Remorse. I remember this being... it was kind of alright, but it was a weird isometric thing. Virtual Cop 2. Right, this was good. Yeah, I had this one. I had Virtual Cop 2. Great game. I mean, light gun game, but really fun. We had Janet Marshall. So the characters had names. If I remember rightly, it was, they were called Rage and Smarty, and then, yeah, she was called Janet Marshall. They did have actual proper names as well, but that was like their code name. I must say, also, I love these renders. I really do. I know they have a kind of, like amazing digital circus quality in 2025, but, you know, they did the best they could with the materials they had, and, you know, I think they were great. Maybe not that one. That was not so good. Weird as well, because, like, they did get it like 5 pages or something. 4 out of 5. Young K3, I mean, okay, it was pretty much a known quantity. Pinball, or Pitball, I was about to say. This was a whole lot of nothing. I mean, I vaguely remember this one. Pandemonium, 2D, 2.5D platformer. It was fun. It wasn't amazing, but no, it was fun. Let's wrap down. I'm gonna skip through here because we got a lot to cover. Namco Museum, Sega Ages. A lot of retro releases at this time. Yeah, Street Fighter Alpha 2. Okay, this was great. Gen is just my man. I love Gen. Weird kind of 2 fighting styles thing. 4 out of 5. Ooh. We are enemies now. Oh, okay, this is gonna be fun. Okay, right. Right, here we go. We have prices. This is gonna be good. Let's see. So how much were things? So the PlayStation 1 controller with a playable demo, $188.99. And with a Thunderhawk 2 and Destruction Derby. Oh, I had Thunderhawk 2. That was a good game. But yeah. £269. Oh, and Mortal Kombat 3 as well. Right. Let's see. I mean, wow, £269. Let's see. 269. £535. That's a lot of money. Wow, okay. Everything you wanted for Christmas. I wonder if these are still around. I wanted to bet that Scorpio technology is still not around today. Huh. Maybe next time we do this, if you ask very politely in the comments, I'll call one of these phone numbers and we'll find out. That'll be fun. Okay, Suikoden. Oh, this was the first Suikoden. So these had a weird release in the UK. Many of them just didn't come out, so that was a shame. This is running quite long though, so I'm going to move through Hardcore 4x4. Let's see, we have more prices. So you see here, we have those $44.99 or £50 prices, but that wasn't normal back then. Most titles were like in the kind of £30 to £40 mark. That was when they were brand new. Still expensive though, because when you think that's like, you know, £70 today, it's a lot of money. Wow, this is all, you know, graphic design is my passion. Full marks for effort from Project K there. To be fair, you shouldn't judge the standard of publishing. It was a lot harder back then. Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, SNES game. Virtual Fighter 2. Oh, this was the Mega Drive version of VF2. This was a strange game. Kind of impressive though. See, a bit of a novelty. You know, just kind of an interesting idea. Like, because D-makes, obviously today, you know, D-makes are very much a thing. You have that person that did that D-make of Bloodborne that looked like a PS1 game. But that, you know, they were done by, you know, by the industry back then. You know, and they still are sometimes, right? But yeah, this was a really good example of what you would call a D-make today. Raven Games. Oh, these guys. They were around for years. I remember seeing these in magazines like in the very early 90s, all the way through to like the 2000s. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you want to see this, do post in the comments. But yeah, I will. On one of the future videos, I will call one of these numbers. Raven Games might be the one to go for because they were around for so long. I could imagine that they might still be, maybe. Telegames as well, they were around a long time too. Right, okay, Virtual On. So, this, no word of a lie, is just one of my favorite games ever. I love Virtual On Cyber Troopers. Such a good game. I have like little desk toys of the characters and everything. I absolutely love them. I never had the twin stick, unfortunately. I always wanted one. They're so expensive. They never come out in the UK. They did work with the English version if you bought one, but they, you know, they were expensive. But yeah, I used to love this game. So yeah, very kind of esoteric control system. They had to kind of explain it here. But yeah, it was good. But essentially what Virtual On is, it's a type of game that was big in Japan, but you didn't get many of them in the West. You still don't really. It is an arena fighting game. So essentially it's a fighting game that you play from third person, and you know, you can move anywhere, so full 3D movement. And yeah, you have a range of attacks, and you know, you go for it. There was a really good, there's been a few Shonen Jump games that have used this idea. There was a really good One Piece one, Once Upon a Time, a few Bleach ones, you know, kind of, it's very popular for anime tag games, like anime licensed games. But Virtual On was just one of the best ones, and even today, this is a really good game. Plays really well. It's just, it's so technical, like you can get so good at it. I love this game, I really do. So I got this for Christmas this year. This was my big kind of Christmas gift, and oh, I get so nostalgic. I was so thrilled to open this on Christmas Day. I had the demo disc that came on Sega Saturn magazine, but that only had, I think you could only play against one enemy as one character, being a demo. So then getting the full game, oh man, I played it for hours and hours. Months I played this game. I loved it so much. When I went to Japan, actually, one of the first arcades I went to in Shinjuku had a lot of virtual on machines. Even like in the 2000s, they still saw enough play. It was great. Oh, and FIFA 97. Oh, look at this guy. He's not looking good. FIFA. So the weird thing today is FIFA is now like the definitive. Well, it's club football by EA now, right? But it's like the definitive football game. But back then, the FIFA, the 2D FIFA games for the Mega Drive and SNES, they were good, but the jump to 3D was not kind to the series, and the first few were just dreadful. This was one of them. ISS, good game. Mortal Kombat Trilogy was fine. X2, again, that was that weird one I mentioned before. Very strange graphic design. Blast Chamber. Oh, I remember this one. This was like a weird platform fighter where you rotated the screen like the chamber. It was fun as an idea, but I think, yeah, I think it was a bit limited. But if you had 4 people to play it with, it was great. Tomb Raider on PC, and just the PC version 4 to 5, and it was fine. Wayne Gretzky's, that was great. Oh, so this is kind of an interesting thing as well. So they had, earlier in the magazine, they had a preview about this game. You might remember we looked at this a little while ago. But then what they used to do was they would have a different reviewer who would do the preview and a different reviewer that would review the game. So you'd have this kind of division of editorial and review, which was really good. Okay, it's X-Men vs. Street Fighter Legend. Such a good game. This has recently been re-released, right? Like, for the longest time, you couldn't buy this anywhere, like a really good version of it, in the West anyway. Came out on the Saturn, and I want to say Dreamcast, maybe not. Actually, no, probably not, but it came out on the Saturn in Japan, but it didn't come West, and the PlayStation version is trash, so, yeah. Oh, so good. Fighters Megamex, okay. I might stream this at some point soon. So this was a game where they essentially took the cast of Virtual Fighter and Fighting Vipers and threw them into one game with a lot of other characters as well. Really good. It was kind of because the Sega Saturn would never get a version of Virtual Fighter 3. So this was kind of meant to be the machine's swan song. Oh, it's a good game. I know I say that a lot, right? It's mainly because I'm not stopping on the stuff that nobody remembers, but also that 1996, 97, like, absolute bangers. So many. I mean, Star Fox 64. Oh, wow, so good. Alright. Weird kind of... Oh, so this was the thing where they'd modded Quake to put, like, Christmas outfits on people. And it was fun because, yeah, video game modding was very new back then, like outside of demo scene circles and like kind of Far East piracy. It was very new, so there was a lot of stuff in CVG about modding Quake, because it was kind of a bright and interesting thing. Alright, revenue art. Some games are simply streets ahead of the SimCity 2000. This is a good one, right? Because, yeah, right, so this is what the game is about. I know there's only a couple of screenshots, and it'd be nicer if there were more, but, you know, at least it's not, you know, about some bizarre thing. That was cool. But here we go, here's another one. Look me in the eyes and say you love me. Virtual Cop Tony on Sega Saturn. I mean, this was the back cover. Alright, okay, we're at the back cover now. So look. This Virtual Cop. I mean, what? But okay, so yeah, as I said, there are videos on YouTube. Go check those out. There are plenty of those talking about the weird ads we had for video games magazines back then. But yeah, let's go back to the cover. So yeah, January 1987, bright future for gaming. Some really good stuff on the way. This has been fun. Right, okay, I'm going to wrap up here. But thanks for staying with me through this. I hope this was interesting for you. I hope this kind of, if you were around then, I hope it sparked some memories. And if you weren't, I hope you picked up a little bit. There were a lot of games here, as you probably noticed, that would herald things that are still around today. You know, we had the first ever Pictures of Armored Core. We had, you know, the Final Fantasy VII was on the way. That Kirby game that was, you know, what we call them, the Kirby kind of racing series that, you know, we recently had the Switch game off. There were a lot of those, so that was fun. And yeah, and if people like this, do leave a comment. Do like the video. I might come back with more of these. I have a whole stack of these magazines. I know this is actually on the Internet Archive. You can find this, but I have a whole stack of these magazines, and you know, a number of them are very special to me from back then, and this would be fun to do, I think, a bit more. So if you like this, then do that. And yeah, huge thanks to I recommend as well checking out the YouTuber couple Snipe and Web. They review a lot of Warhammer stuff, but they looked at an issue of White Dwarf recently. I think they've done that a couple of times, and it kind of made me think about doing this myself. So yeah, thanks Snipe and Web. Really cool idea, and yeah, this has been fun. So yeah, so as I said, you want to see more, like, comment, and yeah, maybe follow. And I will be streaming Sega Saturn stuff, and I'll be moving on to PlayStation stuff at some point in the future. So if you like this kind of retro stuff, check out in the description, there will be a link to my Twitch. And if you follow me there, you'll get a notification for when I'm going live with those. But that's it from me now. Thank you everyone from Soul's Place, where the drinks are cold, the weather is warm, and the sun is always shining. Merry Christmas, drinkers.